kind of interesting, our contrast here, where Cal SFL is a group that's been going on, what, 3 years now? And our Students for Liberty group has just started officially for this semester. So we're getting a lot of different perspectives. We're getting one with their group as a fairly organized pro-liberty student group on campus that's hosted pretty major events. And then our group, which is just starting out, and so you get to see kind of the growing pains as well as like where a mature club can go. But I guess, so since we're a new club, I thought I'd just talk about some of the challenges that we've had to face in putting together our first first pro-liberty club on this campus. So UC Merced is the newest UC school. It started in 2005, and there's 5,700 students, like 300 to 1,000 of those include graduate students, so it's a very, very small campus. And there's a college Democrats club and a college Republicans club, no socialists or Marxists or any other radical political groups at all. So starting a pro-liberty group on our campus has been an interesting process, because we're kind of filling out like what's the composition of the campus, what's the demographics, like who's there to what libertarians are there on campus, and so we're pretty excited about the prospects for Students for Liberty at UC Merced. So I guess that leads into my first point, is just understanding your campus is really critical. So we know that our campus is new, we know that there isn't a whole lot of political activism on our campus. We did have an Occupy group on our campus, but that kind of dissolved after all the members who were occupying on campus graduated and left. So I guess also I will say that me and Nick Fong were really interested in starting a club, but we weren't sure what sort of resources were available. And for students, it's like, you don't have to do this alone. Like it's so amazing to hear Mr. Thoreau talk about like the history of the Independent Institute, and then like hear kind of a little bit of the history of what libertarians have had to go through, and then see student liberty activists now with all these resources. We have like Students for Liberty, we have YAL, we have the Atlas Society, SSDP, the Students for a Sensible Drug Policy. We even have Students for a Stateless Society, which I'm really excited about. It's an awesome organization. So we have stuff for anarchists, objectivists, classical liberals, anything. And these organizations provide resources for students. Some of the resources that SFL provides are both online resources and on-the-ground resources. So online, we have handbooks for starting a student club, for tabling, for organizing protests on your campus, for transitioning leadership, and for putting together strategic action plans. So it's so wonderful to have that resource as a kind of a lonely libertarian, quote unquote lonely libertarian on campus, because you're tapping into a network that is international, as SFL, which is awesome. And then on the ground resources, they have the Operation Politically Homeless kit through the Advocates for Self-Government, which is a great tabling tool. Free books for days, so you can. You always have something on your table to hand out to students, which is awesome. And then, they just pushed out this visibility campaign, so it's basically just like, the libertarian propaganda that you can put on your campus. So it's just talking about, or exposing the ideas of liberty to a general audience, and getting them thinking about what liberty is on their campus. Another thing that I learned kind of was an important feature of starting a student group is knowing 3 different types of students on campus. So there's like the freshmen and sophomores with no exposure to liberty, who have no real experience with the ideas. You have students who have some experience and are somewhat familiar with the ideas of liberty, and then you have kind of the advanced libertarians, or the final form of libertarians, who are writing for op-eds, and these are the kids who basically want to go off to graduate school or want to write for the Independent Institute, or they're scholars. So knowing where these students are coming from and what their individual interests are is really important. So with new students, it's like showing them that there is a community of free-thinking libertarian people on campus, and that we have fun and we don't just sit around and read books all day. So creating that social atmosphere is really important. And then finding potential leaders and supporting them in any way you can. So, if you see anyone on campus or anyone who comes to your meetings and has any kind of like leadership qualities, or they're very interested in the ideas of liberty and very interested in getting involved, like nurture that, like interact with them, spend time with them, let them know that their experience and their input is valued, and that they can really do a great part to shape the future of the club. In fact, they do. Also, making use of communications technologies. So we, with our club, we want to put together a website, but we make use of Facebook. I suggest you make use of Twitter, MailChimp, and listserv. So basically getting everyone on a mailing list and be able to like communicate with them in as many ways as possible. And then also GroupMe, which is this like text service, so you can get club members' phone numbers and be able to like send them mass text messages, which is somewhat annoying, but also very awesome. And then just in general, to support any and all forms of liberty activism. So, I guess some have characterized libertarianism as being filled with schisms and stuff like that, like different groups and different factions, and always vying with one another and arguing about various principles. And I think what's so awesome about Students for Liberty's mission is that it's all about unifying. It's all about this big tent idea of bringing a bunch of different people from a bunch of different organizations and groups and backgrounds and uniting them under their, the 99% that they have in common, basically. So, if I meet someone on campus who is, maybe more conservative than I, I'm still going to try to find some common ground. I'm still going to try to see what they really believe in, and see what they're interested in, and see if there's a place for them in our club. And then I guess some kind of like personal stuff when you're involved in leadership is like staying motivated and staying energized for liberty activism. So like just in general, like know that you're never alone. Like reach out and accept support from all pro-liberty groups and all organizations that are available, because these are your friends, these are your family, these are people who understand where you're coming from. They understand how challenging it can be to be a pro-liberty student on a fascist or statist campus, and these are the people who can come to your aid and who you can build a community with. And that libertarians must organize too. So individualism does not mean being isolated and disconnected. Like it's very, very important for libertarians to organize and to create communities and create coalitions with other groups and work together on key issues and basically not to isolate and be the ivory tower scholar and never interact with any other groups, because part of sharing the ideas is so you have the production of these ideas through scholarly work, but then you also have to disseminate this information. You have to share this message with other people, and the only way that you can do that is on the ground organizing with people. And then don't burn yourself out. So delegate tasks and try to adopt some kind of organizational structure. So this has been really challenging with our group, just trying to find leadership and trying to find students who are interested in getting involved. But one thing that we're trying to focus on is to host more socials, basically, to have a time after meetings or during the week when we can all just kind of hang out in a relaxed setting and just do what we would normally do, build friendships within our club, because it's not that we always want to talk about liberty all the time. It's just that we want to create kind of this tight-knit community in general and just become good friends and kind of build our club on top of that, because it'll that's the groundwork, that's the foundation. Awesome.
You guys don't mind if I take this. So I want to talk for a few minutes about just some general principles of leading a libertarian student organization that I've come across in my time with Berkeley Students for Liberty here. Basically what it comes down to is two properties. You want your group to have. You want to have members and you want to be able to retain members. That's about it for a libertarian student group. Aside from everything you just said. So why do you want to have more members? Well, your discussion will be more interesting. You have more different viewpoints from libertarians as well as from non-libertarians. Your social will be more fun. People will pay more attention to you and the club will be more visible on campus and maybe even nationally. And all of these things will lead to actually increasing your membership. The problem is, in order to get more members, you need to have members. So there's kind of this critical mass point you have to reach where there will be positive feedback and people know about your club and they'll want to join it. But before that, that's the hard part. So the hard part is initially getting the core group of libertarian, so to speak, faking it until you make it, until you actually can start bringing in more members. So, see, what are some things to do? I want to go over some things that you want to do and things that you don't want to do as a libertarian group. So one thing JP mentioned, which everybody seems to mention, but it's actually really important, is to delegate responsibilities. And I should note that this is true even if there aren't really that many responsibilities to go around and you don't have a lot of work to do. If nothing else, delegating responsibilities to people in your club makes them feel needed, and it makes them more likely to stick around. I know personally, as vice president of Berkeley Students for Liberty, I didn't actually do very much at all. But it certainly made me feel like a part of the club, and I stuck around. Here I am today. You don't want to try to force your members into doing things they don't want to. There's a fine line between gently leading people into leadership positions in a club, roles where they actually have meaningful responsibilities, and forcing them into it in a way that may scare them away from the club. So something you can do are have new members lead discussions on topics that are of interest to them, help be responsible for organizing events. Really, as much as people want to do, let them do it. I try to take a kind of hands-off approach to this and let people participate as much or as little as they want, and the people who are really interested in the club tend to rise to the top. The next thing you definitely want to do as a libertarian student or as an organization leader, just be nice. This is really just a general principle, but it's something that I think a lot of political groups especially seem to forget, because political organizing is by definition kind of a fractious pursuit. So you have people who disagree with you, and there's a temptation to kind of isolate yourself, especially with libertarians, since we're a marginal political ideology. There's a temptation to isolate yourselves from the other political groups on campus, and that's really not what you want to do. There's no way to build a successful libertarian group without interacting, at the very least, with, on this campus, for example, the called Republicans or the Cal Dems. And I guess it goes without saying that you don't have to agree with someone politically in order to have a meaningful discussion or a meaningful relationship. Third point, which I think libertarians actually get right a lot, is have social-oriented events. It's not, we have a tendency to just sit around and talk about politics forever and never go out and have fun, but going out and having fun and kind of blurring the lines between work and play is a really important property of building a lasting organization. In fact, kind of like club responsibilities, it doesn't really matter what they are. For example, Students for Liberty, we've got kind of a tradition of hosting movies, having movie events. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the cult classic, The Room. Anyone who's seen it, I hope it's laughing at this point. But we went on a club expedition to see a live stream of The Room in Oakland, and that was, I guess, one of the defining social events. Yes, with Tommy Wiseau, the director of the film. So, absolutely nothing to do with libertarianism. The movie is not libertarian in any way, but the point is that it's a community building organized, a community building exercise, and that building a student group is a lot like building a group of friends. You have to do things together. Another social type of event you can do that, we're very lucky in Berkeley at least to have a lot of great libertarian speakers in this area, is host speakers. Not only is this great food for thought for the members of the club who are already libertarian, but hosting libertarian speakers is a great way to attract new members as well. We've been very lucky to have several speakers at Berkeley Students for Liberty. We've had several of the speakers you'll be seeing today, including Audrey Friedman and Anthony Gregory. So if there are libertarian speakers in your area, and the chances there are, absolutely take advantage of it. Let's see, a couple of things not to do. Well, this should be obvious. Don't scare potential members away. Like I said before, libertarians can tend to kind of insulate themselves from other political organizations. We have a kind of group mentality. We like to talk to people we agree with, and that means we end up only talking to people we agree with, and people we don't agree with won't talk to us and don't hang around. So I would say it's something we do at Students for Liberty at Berkeley. I think it's worked out pretty well. Reserve the first meeting of the year for an introduction to libertarianism and really focus on getting to know people and bringing them into the fold, so to speak. Another thing you can do is say, talk about libertarian positions on current events, something that people who are not already libertarians will find interesting and may make them want to participate more. Talk about the presidential election, for example, or the war on drugs. These are relatively mainstream issues, and they're books that are going to cause people to come back to your group. Another thing not to do that libertarians have I find myself falling into this occasionally, don't be pretentious. We all talk to people who are certain they're right, and know they're right, and they're not afraid to tell you at the top of their voice how right they are. So don't do that. It's not going to make people want to come back. It won't make people like you either. You want to show people that libertarianism is the right thing to do, as opposed to lecturing them and telling them that it is. My last point, it's also the last one, don't take yourself too seriously. Being libertarian can be really depressing. The government grows every year, and if we let that get us down, we'll be depressed and suicidal all the time. So don't take it too seriously. Yeah, I guess that's really the general point. Don't take yourself too seriously, have some fun, take some advice from the dude, maybe even go bowling. The Big Lebowski film is a very good movie. I guess I'll leave it at that.
So I'll keep this short and snappy and entertaining because historically this has been the most boring part of the conference, the student panel. So thank you for suffering with it. But I want to talk mostly about leadership transition and kind of moving on as you're graduating college, what to do as a senior, as a leader of the Libertarian Club. But before that, I just want to emphasize two important things. These guys both did a wonderful job of highlighting important tips for running an organization. But I want to highlight just two that I found have been the most important. Is one, party. Partying with a purpose. And I say this, they both mentioned socializing, but I can honestly say the most important aspect of starting an effective libertarian club is to build a sense of community. Because, especially for freshmen coming in, and going to a meeting where they don't know people, they're talking all this philosophy, and then afterwards nothing happens, it's not very entertaining. But if you have a social afterwards, if you're really reaching out to build that community, then people become invested in it because, all my friends are going to be there. It's Tuesday night, we're going to talk about libertarian philosophy and, get drunk on 2 Buck Chuck afterwards. Like, that's awesome. So that's what I would say is really important. And, sorry, what was the second part? Maybe it'll come back to me. So anticlimactic. But I guess I'll just move on to leadership transition. Now I just remembered. Okay. Another part that Will mentioned was don't scare away new members. And this has really been a challenge I felt in my years. Is because, not because of me, but because sometimes our club is very philosophical. We like to do discussions and stuff. And so sometimes we would want to do really hardcore discussions like like the classic libertarian argument, minarchy versus anarchy. But put yourself in the position of an 18-year-old freshman who is kind of interested in hearing about libertarianism. You know, they think of that like, oh yeah, I'm socially liberal and physically conservative. So, you know, I guess I'm a libertarian. And they go into this room, and then all of a sudden people are talking about abolishing the government? Like, you know, it's crazy. So that really scares them away. And we had a meeting like that once, and it really was so disappointing. There was literally like 5 new people there, and they didn't come back. So I would say, in your discussions, minarchy versus anarchy debates and hardcore discussions like that are absolutely wonderful, but I would shelve them for the social. You know, when the wines are flowing, the $2 chuck, then you can bust out the hardcore discussion. But okay, but now I want to get and talk about what these two haven't had or discussed about leadership transition. So I ran Berkeley Students for Liberty for 3 years, or excuse me, 2 years technically. And then fortunately through Students for Liberty national training, they really emphasize leadership transition. Because a common trap that happens, not just with libertarian clubs, but with student organizations in general, is that they have a really enigmatic leader who starts a club and runs it really well, and then he or she graduates and the club collapses because he doesn't delegate or et cetera, or there just wasn't an effective leadership transition. So it's really important for an organization's longevity to start that process early. I'm very happy. My senior year, I decided not to be the president or not to have a prominent role in that. So what I did essentially was with Will, our co-president, and Bobby Saxton, who is not here right now, I'm a little mad about that, but he will be later in the day. But I essentially, in the true spirit of liberty, took a laissez-faire approach. And I said, okay, if this is your club now, I'm absolutely here. I'm going to be here at every meeting. I will play an advisory role, but you guys are the decision makers. It's your game now. And in fact, I kind of felt guilty about that because it's like it's my baby. I started the club, and I kind of thought, oh, I should be more nurturing, like I should be more active. But I'm so happy I didn't because even though it stressed me out, and I'm wondering, oh, is this going to collapse or whatnot, I kept my insecurities to myself. And through these guys running, the meetings, organizing the events by themselves, I've graduated, and honestly, with my job now, I just don't have the time to constantly be checking up on them. But they're still going strong. I mean, they got Derek Johnson. I'm so freaking proud of that. That's what I would really say as far as leadership transition is to make sure and take a laissez-faire approach when your graduation is imminent, and let the future leaders kind of step into your role and get that strength to continue after your graduation. And then the final point, which is really awesome about when you start that transition, you get a lot more free time. And I think it's really great to use that to pursue other opportunities. Personally, myself, I wrote Libertarian Column and the Daily Californian, and which was awesome and kind of crazy too. Let me tell you, writing a libertarian column at Berkeley, it's a trip. Literally, if you YouTube my name, Casey Gibbon, some psychopath who was like, oh my gosh, was like literally my stalker for my columns. Bro made like a 10-minute video, or no, it's like 10-minute video of me. He's in doing the voice of Mark Twain. And he's like, I'm Mark Twain, and I'm reading like Casey Gibbons articles. It's psycho, but I don't know. But I don't know why I even said that. That's just a digression, just a crazy fact with a column. But I would say, but it was really great in that pursuing other projects. Essentially, I used that experience to leverage my current job today, and I can honestly say, one of the great things about student organizing is this is real life experience that you can leverage into getting a career and into whatever you want to do. I can honestly say, I graduated from Berkeley, but my major did absolutely nothing to give me a job. It was literally my work at Students for Liberty here, and then through the Daily Californian working through there, that can really build the experience in showing that you're effective in organizing and getting work done. So I would say this is a great career opportunity, you guys. Like, you know, you want a reason to get involved in student organizing, employment. So I would say, you know, this is really great to use your experience to leverage it for a job after college, and especially with leadership transition, it frees up more time for you to pursue that goal. So those are just basically my points, and yeah, let's open up the questions.
Sorry you saw my Mark Twain video that I uploaded. Alright, well, you covered most of my initial questions, so why don't we actually go to the audience first, since we're running a little behind. Does anyone have anything? Sure.
What are your guys' best strategies for finding libertarians on your campus when you can't locate any currently?
So the best strategies for finding libertarians on campus, if you feel like you're the only one.
Well, I got one. It's pretty simple. Get a big sign that says "We're Libertarian" and a table in the campus quad. It's really effective. I think that's the best way for attracting libertarians, but also for people who are, you know, politically homeless, I guess. Well, there's one thing that the Advocates for Self-Government, they have a great kit called the Politically Homeless Kit, where it's a nonpartisan quiz that you can do, and it's just basic questions, 10 questions about like economic and social liberties, which is really great because you know you don't come off as crazy or pursuing a cause. You're like, hey, are you politically homeless? Take this short quiz, and you can find out what you are. And oftentimes you find people who didn't know they were libertarian, and you get to plot them. There's even a big plot on the I forget the political spectrum, and so that's a great way to do it. That's by the Advocates for Self-Government. And another thing that our club did often is we also got a whiteboard and an easel, and we would ask a question on it, or we would take polls. We would say usually related to current events that's happening that day, you know, like for example, when Obama won the Peace Prize a few years ago, we did one, did Obama deserve the Peace Prize? And surprisingly, this was really interesting, especially in Berkeley, almost unanimously people said no, even hardcore progressives and stuff. And so that was a great way to start a discussion, to say yeah, to start a war discussion, etc., and to get people in who might not have been knowledgeable about libertarianism and show them about you know, our philosophy. So those are just 3 tips I have.
I would add to what Casey said, that the main thing you need to consider when attracting new members is it's really a sales exercise. And the most important thing is just getting people to talk to you in the first place. And like Casey mentioned, the best way to do that is to be either loud or different or obnoxious in some way. What Casey didn't mention about these signs that we used to post, sometimes say things like, anarchy bitches. That's a good one to attract people. We like to take polls on things just to pique people's interest in not necessarily libertarianism, but just get them to talk to us. We had a poll, bisexual polygamy, yes or no. That was a big hit. Really, it's just getting people to talk to you.
I was just going to say that you might just pop into college Republicans or college Democrats meeting, because when I first came to UC Merced, there was no liberty group. I thought, well, what's the closest organization? College Republicans. 80% of their membership were Ron Paul supporters. So it's like they didn't have a home. I'm not sure there's as many as the college Democrats, but we'll see. But yeah, just checking out other organizations.
All right, any other questions?
So, I don't really have any problem getting people to sign up, have a few pages of them and whatnot. My main problem is getting people to actually show up, you know, because they'll be pretty interested in when we're tabling and everything like that. They'll be super engaged, looking at the books, reading through it, and they're like, oh, I'm super excited, and then I just never hear from them. So, how would you alleviate that to prolong that engagement to where they can come to a couple meetings and actually start getting involved?
You could just repeat if you didn't hear back there. Basically, the question is,
Actually, that's one of the problems we've been facing as our new club, but responding to those people by email, Facebook, or well, first of all, getting them on a Facebook group page or on a website or connected somehow online, and then also sending them out emails like immediately after you do tabling. So just being prompt with your responses. And then, yeah, I guess.
2 words, food and booze. No, I mean, honestly, like, look, what do we have at this conference? Food and booze. Like, that's how you get people into a room. And I think that is a great way. And this also ties back to building a community. It's because if you have those types of incentives, you can really start to build a community of libertarians where they'll start to build friendships, etc., to get people to come into that. But I think having incentives like that, where you have some sort of fun activity, some sort of cookies, brownies, etc., $2 check, is always a great way to attract people to meetings, and as well as the email communications. I can't emphasize enough the importance of social media. So yeah.
Yeah, not too much to add, but that's really what you have to do. You have to build relationships with people. That's the way to build a lasting club. Is you have to have relationships between the people in the club. It has to be more than just some people who like to get together and talk about politics. Because people can always do that. You can do it on the internet. It's a matter of fact. Yes. I mean, it's definitely an issue, and we would love to have more women in the club, but I'm not sure what exactly to do about it. I think, as you pointed out, libertarians may tend to be male. It may just be that people who are especially interested in politics tend to be male, but I think it's actually true that libertarians tend to be more male. I don't really have a good answer for you, aside from what's already been mentioned. In general, being nice to people, food and booze.
This is a really difficult question, and I've thought about this a lot, and I think about it from a very philosophical standpoint too, because I feel like it's almost misogynistic to kind of target women specifically and be like, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how you would target it. I think that would be like playing into stereotypes. But I think that one thing that our club has done though, this is a very larger problem. I feel like with the libertarian movement is we obviously need to attract more women. One thing that we've done is we've hosted events specifically about libertarian feminism. There's one great speaker in the Bay Area, Sharon Presley, who is a retired professor from CSU East Bay. We hosted an event with her specifically about libertarian feminism, and we advertised it with all of the women's groups, the gender studies department, the pro-life group, and so I think we were able to attract a lot of people that way. Other than that, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
What's the question?
How to attract women or girls into
What does the moderator do?
Well, I think that broad generalizations aren't necessarily the best thing to say that men are more interested in politics as like a blanket statement. I do think, I'm going to violate that right now, I tend to see more men in economics, and I tend to see, I think that actually probably is a bigger role than politics in general. So I think if you can, I think what Casey said is actually right on point, to try and explain that, women's issues are all issues. The economy is an issue. Independent Women's Forum in DC kind of does that very thing, and you can maybe go on their website and see kind of how
Ladies of Liberty Alliance.
Ladies of Liberty Alliance, there's certainly friendly in a lot of ways, but definitely I think about the attitude of building relationships, not seeming like you're unfriendly in general to women. So they don't feel like I.
We can also talk about sexism, which is an issue.
All right, we've had time for one more question. Sure. Yeah.
You said you found that 80% of the Republican students for Liberty were Ron Paul supporters, right?
The call, yeah.
So I mean, it's no surprise to everyone that the future of the Republican Party isn't with the Liberty movement. So I think, I was wondering if you guys were actively trying to recruit Republicans to join the Libertarian student groups. I think that would be one of the best ways to kind of go about, like, getting the message out there to a group that's already very well established in the college, because they are libertarians, and that's kind of what I'm trying to help to as well.
We try to build coalitions, but at the same time, we also don't want to be identified as Republican. And that's part of the reason that we're starting for the club in general, is to have a place for people who may not identify as Republicans. But yeah, building
I
coalitions,
understand,
definitely.
you gotta be careful about endorsements sometimes, but just, the fact that 80% of the Republican students for Liberty are not for the Republican nominee for president is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
They usually come to our meetings anyways.
Yeah, we've actually experienced something very similar. At least here in Berkeley, it seems that a lot of the members of Berkeley College Republicans are in fact libertarian leaning, but they may be more socially conservative, or they may actually, even if they're libertarian, want to be part of a broader movement and feel like they're part of something. And actually, that's something that Students for Liberty is really working to change, because with Students for Liberty or other libertarian organizations, if you're a libertarian, you can still be a part of something that is the Republican Party.
Well, I really like this question. Basically, when I came to Cal as a freshman, there was no libertarian club, so of course I joined the College Republicans. Those were dark days. Basically, after one semester of, neocon, I don't know, that type of stuff, I decided to start a club with my friends. And one issue that we had is we were wondering how to be diplomatic in starting a club that's trying to, trying to take some of the College Republicans members to bring it to our club. And so what we did is we kind of took a very non-interventionist approach, where we didn't go into their club and just trying to secretly recruit them, but rather we, just very friendly, we held our meetings on a separate day than the College Republicans, so they don't look mutually exclusive. I would still attend some of the Republican meetings, just make an announcement like, hey, you can come to both meetings, you can be part of both clubs, and build that diplomatic approach. And eventually, our first year, we kind of seemed like a spin-off of the College Republicans, but eventually, some College Republicans started to come to both meetings, and they realized, hey, these guys are much cooler, they have food and booze. And eventually our clubs kind of branched off into two separate entities. So I would say is just kind of take a friendly approach, don't seem like the two clubs are mutually exclusive, and eventually you will build your own independence. Yeah.
All right, I know there's some other questions out there, but we are right at that time where we're going to move on to the photo, I believe. I guess when I will explain, but let's thank KCJP as well.